Cool, we're online. Hi everyone, my name is Manny.
Hi Manny.
Hi Stephanie. Along with Victoria, I co-run a free pop-up art school called Homeschool. We host talks, exhibitions, art classes, poetry readings, and other stuff to create welcoming contexts for critical engagement with contemporary art. We're here in collaboration with the Cooley as part of the public programming for the show Self, which is up until the 1st of October. So we've got 2 more weeks to see it. The speaking artists, Nat Turner Project, and Homeschool are both in the show. It looks really good. I'd say go check it out if you got time. So thank you, Stephanie, for hosting us, and the Cooley and Elliot. I have to read and steal money from Reed. It's awesome because I have a very complex relationship with this place. I graduated in
It's really good to have you back.
Thank you. So today's talk, I'm really excited. It's the Nat Turner Project. Woo! They're a local curatorial duo that allows artists of color to go beyond the usual initial expositions inherent in presenting art born of marginalized perspectives to a dominant culture. The Nat Turner Project allows artists of color freedom to create or express their own language within and without the parameters of racial commodification or designation. NTP creates an environment of inclusivity, a communal harbor for artists previously silenced by institutional constraints, and actively provides priority spaces to artists of color, allowing others the privilege of viewership from an outsider role. Nat Turner Project, not just a name, but a statement of artistic freedom. And for what it's worth, I was privileged to work with them with my studio mate, Sidonia O'Neill, at their show at PNCA. Definitely the best experience I had working with curators. So this statement is true. They're going to speak separately first. Melanie Stevens is going to speak, and she's an artist, illustrator, and writer, as well as obviously co-founder and co-curator of the Nat Turner Project. She's also the creator of the graphic novel Black Picket Fences and the co-founder, editor, and one of the instructors of Miss Anthology, an organization that supports and publishes racially and economically diverse young comic artists who identify as female or genderqueer. Melanie Stevens received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Yale University and her Master's of Fine Arts degree from the Pacific Northwest College of Art. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for coming out. There's a lot of amazing stuff happening right now for TBA. A vast array of conversations happening around art, self, and the world at large. DA is here. He just finished this amazing talk that I wish I could have gone to.
Me too.
And it's definitely not lost on us that you chose to be here to listen to us. So thank you. Thank you to lovely Manny and Victoria, who have been kind enough to host us on behalf of their wonderful program, Homeschool, of which we are both huge fans. Thank you to Stephanie for welcoming us on this platform and just being so generous and accommodating. And also thank you to all of the talented and brilliant artists, poets, thinkers, makers, who make up this exhibit itself. We are truly honored and humbled to be included as a part of this. If you haven't had a chance to see it yet, as Manny mentioned, please do yourself a favor and go check it out. It is absolutely breathtaking. I'm Melanie Stevens, one half of the curatorial endeavor Nat Turner Project, which I co-founded along with Max Martinez in August of 2016. I am a multimedia artist and graphic novelist. The work within my individual practice navigates the themes of media representation of African Americans within the current political climate. I examine the structures of narrative and common and often widely accepted literary tropes, and how those tropes not only mirror societal inequities and power dynamics along racial lines, but also how these narratives actually shape and inform those very structures, and even influence and affect the audiences consuming them. Interested in examining different facets of cultural accessibilities and entry points to highlight these modern-day inequities, while using humor and satire to create objects that people can actually carry around with them. My fascination with narrative, specifically in regards to art, began when I was pretty young. One of my earliest memories as an artist occurred when I was 10 years old. I was in my 6th grade class, and we were given the task of drawing whatever we wanted. And at that time, I had begun experimenting with drawing the figure, specifically the female figure. And so, with great determination, I began to conjure from my imagination one of the most beautiful women I'd ever seen. She was based on many women I'd known, in my family, in my neighborhood, on the covers of my mother's R&B vinyl albums. When I was finished drawing and coloring her, I showed her to my blonde-haired, hazel-eyed classmate with a rare sense of pride and accomplishment. This classmate stared at the picture for what seemed like an eternity, scoffed dismissively, and with great authority said, "Ew, why is she so fat?" Confused, I showed the picture to my teacher, who politely smiled and said, "Well, she is on the big side, isn't she?" This is one of the first times I can remember my cultural perspective being dismissed. It would not be the last time, or the worst time. But it would be many, many years before I would understand fully what was happening and why. Nevertheless, by the time Max approached me to start a gallery space which prioritizes artists of color in the bathroom in August of 2016, I had already begun to push back against accepted American narrative in my own work. And I saw Nat Turner Project as the perfect opportunity to do so on a much larger scale. In discussing names for what this space would be, Max and I didn't originally have a clear idea of a specific name in mind, so much as what we wanted the name to evoke. An interesting way to set up a litmus test, or an initial boundary for entering the space. We knew that we wanted a name that spoke to the centuries of racial violence and terror that continue to go unchecked. I, of course, wanted a subtle allusion to the stories about people of color that have either never been told or have been twisted and manipulated beyond recognition of their origins. We both wanted a name that would be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable due to societal precedents which have rendered much of the American population unequipped, unable, and unwilling to discuss the elephant in the room that is white supremacy. Essentially, we wanted to turn that elephant into the centerpiece of our space, so that if you were not able to acknowledge it, you would be unwelcome within the space. We started our first shows in the bathroom of the MFA studios, where Max and I were both students. While this was a precedent set by a student the year before us, we had decidedly different reasons for being interested in the restroom as our space. First, there are undeniable historical implications of the bathroom as a site of societal enforcements of decency, of recognition of humanity, of establishing hierarchies. Also, it's a very interesting space in that it is a universal one, but also a kind of non-space. So for me, there's something subversive about putting something that has been earmarked as a signifier of cultural value, the art object, in a space that has been seen as a place of banality or insignificance. Lastly, and this is not a small thing, we liked the bathroom because there were really no rules or parameters placed on how we could use the space. We knew that by establishing our operations in that space, we could navigate outside of the rules and under the radar of the institution that we happened to be a part of. Later on, especially upon our graduation, when we officially lost access to the MFA restrooms, we began to operate more as a fugitive gallery space, moving around and exhibiting as guests or visiting curators in other places for allotted periods of time, either through generosity, collaboration, or residencies. We would come to learn that working between the lines and under the radar becomes much more difficult once you venture into spaces that you don't really control or have immediate access to. But having temporary access to some of these places, as well as their support, did allow us to fulfill major goals within our mission statement. Even if a bit of our original full autonomy had to be relinquished in order to do so. Within the context of Nat Turner Project being this gallery space in an MFA studio for a private art institution run by two people pursuing master's degrees, I was and am still hyper aware of the implications of that and of our own class and educational privilege. In that way, I'm fully cognizant that I am working and am relatively successful within the very system that I am critiquing. Less a meritocracy and more a recurring manifestation of white supremacy, benefiting those in closest proximity to the ever-shifting specter of whiteness. However, by decentering ourselves and using our access and the skills we've acquired within our time in school to pass that privilege on to other artists of color, I feel like we're doing something in the way of moving towards an artistic landscape that looks like the place that we actually inhabit. And also through external funding sources, which are also, by the way, highly privileged. We have been able to offer fiscal support as well as marketing, administrative, and curatorial support. This is no small thing. In a time when the racial wage gap is the highest and the largest it's been since the 1970s. Shout out to the housing crisis of the late aughts. And this is before you drill down into the art industry specifically, which is where it is even more bleak. So I want to talk a little about safe spaces. I think that this is a phrase that has been used so often and so irresponsibly that it has been all but rendered meaningless, which is often kind of the point, right? Well, as a Southern girl from a Black neighborhood who did time in the Ivy League, as the only Black woman MFA candidate in my school's program at the time of my graduation, as an artist, it's not just a phrase to me. It is a means of survival, of maintaining sanity and logic in a world that oftentimes seems bereft of it. Indeed, when people are being threatened with economic and physical violence just for clearly articulating their truths, for articulating an existence many of us live with, creating a haven for artists to express themselves in whatever way they see fit, was our list in our mission. So what is a safe space? Well, for me, it's a place where your work and you can be seen in the entirety of who you are, as a fully recognized entity, both within and besides the context of racial specification and identification. It is a place where you can comfortably slide in and out of all of your identities and languages, much the way you do with your friends and loved ones. A place where you don't have to explain your jokes or risk someone appropriating pieces of your existence without context, and alone and amongst its collective contemporaries. A place where you don't have to overthink about your audience because your audience already knows you. It is a place where you can do all things or nothing, and understanding is implied. It is something that I crave within my own artistic practice and something that I long to cultivate for others. In all honesty, it is very possible that I underestimated how difficult it would be to create such spaces in Portland, Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest. Perhaps it was hope or hubris or both. I will say this, the general rule of thumb is the bigger the space, the harder the fight. In the restrooms, it was relatively simple to manage behaviors and make sure that our artists were being respected. However, as word spread about Nat Turner Project, and we started branching out into other parts of the Portland community, we faced resistance that we never could have predicted. Ultimately, many of these instances, whether it has been barring someone from attending our shows or publicly shaming another for disrespectful behavior towards the artist, lecturing a collaborating curator on their treatment of our artists, or requesting a retraction from a press article because of its racial ignorance or insensitivity. These instances have made us warriors in ways that we never could have imagined. We've had to defend ourselves, protect our artists, and rinse and repeat so many times now that I think we've got it down to a science. Unfortunately, in this first year, there have been a few times when I felt powerless in protecting an artist from the ugliness of racism and anti-Blackness. While it strives to offer opportunities for artistic freedom that may or may not be found in other venues, is still of the world. And the world, between you and me, is pretty well beyond repair right now. However, I think the important thing with these matters is not to bury those moments that you deem as failures, to leave them out and hold them up as reminders so that you don't repeat the same mistakes. But I'll leave it where it lies. Finally, I want to end on what I consider to be success as far as Nat Turner Project. I'm extremely proud of what Max and I have done during this first year. I'm honored that we got the opportunity to show the work of so many talented artists of color, many of whom either already are or are well on their way to impressive careers. I love that we are getting to a place where we can provide platforms and curatorial support on multiple tiers for these artists. I find that this work supplements me in ways that my own centered individual art practices just can't, because it involves communal connections and stepping outside of the isolation of self to understand how all of these things fit together. Ultimately, however, the end goal of NTP is obsolescence. It is a utopian project in which the object of the game is creating a world and landscape in which it is no longer needed. A world in which safe spaces are the default, and the work of artists of color own merits, not exoticized or brought out during specified periods of the year or used as signifiers of cool or tolerance. We've got our work cut out for us, and it's well worth it. Thank you.
Do you want to go up right now?
Yeah, let's take a beverage break. 5 minutes.
Melanie, that was awesome. I am, when you have questions. Yes. Sure. I would also talk about
I'm perfectly fine.
I'm really curious.
Yeah.
And
I won't name institutions or names, but I
Well,
can talk about them.
yeah, I mean, Mandy. You do whatever you want. But I have to say, I was a little shocked. Right. You know, then would understand that it's a job to support you and that there might be, like with any project, you know, you would think that there might be things that you are a little uncomfortable for the creator. That's what it means.
I understand.
I think that we're slowly learning that not everyone has the same curatorial philosophy. This is true.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that. Like, I haven't actually. And she knew what the exhibition was really about, or she kind of reiterated what it was about to me. And then she asked something which I actually thought was really kind of a racist thing to say. But she said, right? And I was like, I just had to,
Yeah, we're.
like, why are you anyway, nice to meet you. I think that's like, so when I see her in person in October, but I didn't have and I get that, I definitely get that. And I also think that, like, I really do want to talk about it. But I think I've learned that people tend to get very, very defensive about these sorts of things. And they also shut down to try to sort of like pull out the meetings. Like, I'm learning. That's the thing. None of us are, right? I think people are so afraid to be wrong, so they'd rather just not. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's true. I think you're absolutely willing to make mistakes. Yes. It is, that's how you learn. I heard that, yes, it was. I heard that it was but it was funny. Like if it was intense the way that some of the other events and conversations have been intense, but I think that's really positive. And I know personally, reacted to someone telling me that they might not be able to say. I just think the thing was just focused on I find it delightful. Well, and they're not just that. This is Charlie. He's totally black. He's a redhead. That's Gematria, sweetie. Yeah, so quiet. That's my note. He was like totally listening to her radio lying on the ground. We walked as far as he could. And I was like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, I know. He was like, it takes actually just sort of goes into yeah, I think it can be jarring for people who are just holding that up. But it's all connected, it's all born in the same place. The construct of genders and whiteness, like the story of the Irish plays into that too. So I mean, and I think it's kind of the burying of those histories that contribute to all of this. And that's the right answer to my question. Which is a pretty fascinating story.
the black face, white voice. I feel like
Yeah.
in relationship to African American, Jewish, and
I want my window to pop up in the next scene.
There's my giants.
I don't know what that means.
Max, I didn't know you liked the Giants.
Where like I undid the display so I can get like.
Okay. I don't know how can I help you?
How many AP workers in the room? Jack, there he is.
Just wanted my things here.
So sorry. But they were sorted, right? We're going to start if you want to settle in. Cool. Thanks everyone for sticking around. The second half of the talk will be by Maximiliano, who makes art in the track, performance times video times poetry times collaboration. Maximiliano's practice explores diaspora, the multiplicity of identity, rituals times mythos, brujerías, healing of trauma, the body, and Black sovereignty times autonomy. They are one half of Callejeros, a performance times fashion collaboration, and are recipients of the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts and Precipice Fund grant in 2016. They're a co-collaborator and co-founder of the Nat Turner Project, a radical art space, and they're one of the C3 Initiative Artists in Residence for 2017. Maximiliano received an MFA from the Pacific Northwest College of Art in 2017, and they performed, exhibited, and curated at S1,
Distracta Gallery 114, C3 Initiative, and Luna Gallery in various places in Oklahoma, Texas, Portland, and Washington. Thank you, Max. I think you want to go to view or something.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Max.
My name's Max. I'm one part of Nat Turner Project. You just heard from Melanie Stevens, so she already filled you in on all that stuff. It's really cool to be here. Thanks to Homeschool for inviting us. Stephanie, it's been really fun. Thanks everybody for coming out. Everything that Melanie said about TBA, so super cool that you decided to spend your time here. Originally, this talk was going to be at the chapel, and that's why the title for this show, or this talk, was going to be Nat Turner Revival, Sermon on the Mount, but it's in this cool classroom instead, which is totally cool. I'm just saying that's the original reason for the title. It's going to be like, you know, fiery preaching from the pulpit, but this will be good, hopefully. So yeah, that's the title. Then a little background, as Moni had already talked about, we started in the bathrooms. Fun, and that's cool. This is a shot of Bree Gibson, Liquid Jungle, from our first show. I think it's a really good example of the way the space could change, and the different ways to even like install in a bathroom. There's something like less rules of install for the bathroom, and I think that was one of the things we really liked the most. Less like we're more like under territory and more freedom, and it also gave like the artists a chance to try new stuff and experiment. And oftentimes it was like new work, so it'd be like specific installations for the bathroom, and we really just try to figure out how to facilitate their vision and their dream. That's like in talking about Nat Turner Project, that's one of our like main focuses, is to allow the artists to like kind of like do whatever their goal is, and whatever ways we can facilitate that, we really try to do that. And it's really fun to see the dreams and the visions like come to life and stuff. I think we miss working in the bathroom because of the freedom and the control. And there's talk that we may begin, so we'll see. Keep an eye out for that. I don't give too much away or say too much too early. Another important part of Nat Turner Project is, as Melanie mentioned, I'm sure I'll say that the entire time, but is we want to use our access and our privilege to give artists platforms and kind of just like open it up, and then hopefully like step aside and allow them to do their thing. It's been fun so far. It's been a little around a year. We started in bathrooms. We've done like a pop-up show for a weekend in a different space over Northeast. That was really cool. We also did a show in the main gallery of PNCA with Manny and Sidoni, and we were able to do a host an artist talk for Manny and Sidoni too, which was the first time we gave an artist talk or hosted an artist talk, and that was also a really tight experience. And they're both like brilliant artists. I like to hear them talk. It's amazing. And then we had a summer with C3 up in St. John's, which was like a lot of fun, but I'm gonna touch on that a little bit later. Here's a picture of Aruni Dharmakirti, who was our second exhibiting artist back in November. This is one of my favorite NTP photos, and I feel like it sums up NTP in a lot of ways. NTP, the bathrooms, where in our MFA studios, so a lot of our early shows made up a lot of our classmates and stuff, so they'd always like come out, and there's something cool too, the optics of like all these white people cheering Rooney.
So beautiful.
So yeah, she got up on the stool and was having fun. She's in New York now doing stuff, so that's cool. Yeah, so I feel like in some ways that's another encapsulation of NTP and what we're trying to be about. Here's another shot from the bathroom. This one's Addie Fernandez and her show Retracing My Steps. This one, she used a lot of glow-in-the-dark tape and tracing, or like pencil drawings on like tracing paper. This one's cool. It played with like lighting and different ways of interacting with the art. And it kind of brings me up to another point, which is like this whole idea of this being an active restroom, but also being an art space. So that's something we always had to keep in mind. For the most part, all our classmates were like chill and supportive. Because it was never something we got like official permission to do. We kind of started setting up art in the bathroom, and most of our classmates were game. I mean, here and there, you'd have like maybe some resentful people that would like move some objects or turn down the audio on certain things. But for the most part, it was really cool and supportive. And yeah, I always had to keep in mind it was an active restroom. So for some things, some of the more involved installations like this one with Addie, it would only be like, all the lights would only be off like for the opening. And we didn't do openings, we would do by appointment. So you could either see it at the opening or by appointment. And that's how we used to roll back in the day. Here's another example of somebody from the bathroom space. This one's Elliott Park. This one's Horns of the Rock Altar. He did like some ceramic stuff and diverted the flow of the water. It's actually pretty cool because we actually have Elliott Park in the audience here in the back. And then there's the second half of this piece where it would go into the urinal, and the ceramic piece is supposed to go into the urinal to like filter into it, and you can pee on it and stuff. So yeah, that's like a little bit of our past, how we started in the bathrooms, all the fun we used to have.
May I ask a question, Mark?
Yes.
Or to Elliot, what are the gray objects hanging down off of the tube? Oh, okay. Like concrete?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's Elliot's work. Yeah, that's us in the bathroom. Yeah, go on, train of thought.
Is that a same-sex bathroom?
When the bathrooms started, there was a male and female bathroom, but actually through Nat Turner Project and exhibiting in the bathroom, both the bathrooms became like all gender bathrooms. So now they're just like two bathrooms.
Right.
So that's kind of the end of our bathroom phase. And next I'm gonna address a few of my choices into the NTP Truth Library. Also, yeah, like I didn't want to overuse too many photos because a lot of the images I could have used were like in the video, and I didn't want to like repeat too much. So there's also the video to check out whenever you're available. But yeah, onto the Truth Library selections. And the first one, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. This is one of the ones I've selected. It's still like to this day one of my favorite hip hop albums, and I feel like it's still heavy, still relevant, still bumps as much as it did back like in the 90s when it came out. And yeah, so I feel for that reason is significant, and I included it. Here's Lauryn Hill from Sister Act 2, which is I feel like my earliest memories of Lauryn Hill are more from this movie prior to the music and stuff. And so that's something I was thinking about this truth library is some of my like earliest intakes of some of these materials. And with Lauryn Hill, it was a lot of it was like hanging out in my grandma's basement with my brother and like watching Sister Act 2 and stuff like that. And here's like a shot of like all the kids from Sister Act 2. They're all like the typical characters and stuff. I also maybe like felt this too, because like growing up I went to a Catholic school, so I feel like this hit on multiple levels. Then still exploring this Lauryn Hill thread. Then yeah, like after, you know, Sister Act 2 and growing up more, then Kanye West with his Champions and his line, which I can also play the audio. Let's just a little clip. I'll play one more time too. Then here's a clip from a Lauryn Hill song called To Zion, which is on the miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Look at your career, they say, Lauren, baby, use your head. But instead I chose to use my heart. Now the joy of my world is in Zion. Now the joy of my world is in
May I ask a question? Can you explain what Kanye was really trying to say? Because I don't understand.
Yeah. So like thinking about miseducation of Lauryn Hill, thinking about that Kanye West lyric, then thinking about like what I knew about Lauryn Hill and how like that like awesome album came out and there's like a disappearance or an absence in this like kind of like growing mystique and like mythos of like Lauryn Hill. I feel like all that like super appeals to me as far as the strange like album. And for like the Kanye West lyric, it's like right afterwards is like who will the kids like listen to? Then he talks about like how the kids will listen to him now because like Lauryn Hill isn't like rapping anymore. So it's like that. It's also this idea that like and like way it was like felt by like the culture and like so many people, and this idea that is still relevant and she's still her shadow still extends, and I feel like this next clip kind of furthers that. This is Nicki Minaj reading Lauryn Hill, and I feel like it's just like yeah, reiterates or continues to like further that idea of the shadow of Lauryn Hill, and even like with Nicki Minaj now, like still currently relevant. Then also like all the stuff she did with the Fugees, but so that's pretty much my inclusion of Lauryn Hill, the education of Lauryn Hill, in the Truth Library. This next movie is a Blank Man. This is like another movie I would watch with my brother in my grandma's basement. Damon Wayans, David Allen Greer, Robin Givens. This is also like I thought about it for a number of different ways. When I was looking at the list, because like we came up with a Google document to like start how we start the Truth Library, I saw Melanie had already put Friday on there, and I was already thinking about adding that, and I saw that Melanie already did it. So I was like, oh man, like you do that one. So I was trying to think of something that was good, but maybe like a little bit more obscure. And I honestly hadn't thought about Blank Man in like a long time. And then like I remembered Blank Man. I was like, oh yeah, I should ask them to put like Blank Man in there. And then I watched it the other day too, just to like re-jog my memory if I was gonna like talk about it. And it's cool too, because like, you know, like a lot of, I feel like where I'm coming from with the choices, where I'm pulling from these moments in my grandma's basement. I lived in Ohio until I was 7, and then I moved to Texas. There are no basements, and my grandma would always like pick us up from like school, me and my brother, and we'd always like hang out in her basement until like my parents came to pick us up. And so we always like, you know, watch music videos, play like PlayStation and like VHSs and like movies. And so like, yeah, things like Sister Act 2, Blink Man, I feel like there's some of my earliest memories and the things that I still feel this like foggy attachment to. Then also I think it's cool too, because like I know Melanie's into comics, and you know, she included Black Panther, and I thought it'd be cool to have another Black superhero. Maybe not as them, but maybe there'll be a Blink Man renaissance. Then here's another choice, another selection I put in. This is To Serve Love with Sidney Poitier. This movie came out in like 1967. It's like, you know, the classic teacher high school movie. The students are like some rough and tumble kids from like East London, and he's like a teacher, and he comes to teach them. And by the end of the year, they're like best friends, and the students are excited. And this was a movie I remember like watching like later, like more in my like early, my like tweens or whatever, like my 11 and 12s. So yeah, then just Sidney Poitier, even more specifically, I think the reason I saw To Serve Love is my dad's favorite actor, and you know, so I feel like there was several like Sidney Poitier movies around, In the Heat of the Night, Lilies of the Field, Raisins in the Sun, and I know like P. Diddy played that part recently in like a Player TV show or maybe something. So thinking about that, thinking about like Sidney Poitier, this other figure that I like remember like being around from childhood, maybe like adolescence, and of other things to include in this library. Then I'm going to talk about the video a little bit. So we have like in the exhibition, we also have this video, which is called NTP Year 1. This eclipse graphic is not moving. It's a screenshot, but the actual GIF or whatever was made by Melanie, and it's like for the eclipse that just happened back in like August, but it was also the anniversary of the rebellion of Nat Turner, which was crazy. I guess August 31st, 1831, Nat Turner saw the eclipse in the sky, and then took that as a sign to start it up. Yeah, so for this video, I feel like we had been making like several kind of videos like this before, like shorter ones that were kind of just image slideshow movies for like applications and for a few other things, but I feel like this was the most comprehensive one we had made, and so that's cool in that way to see like the entire like year spread out. Use the Fugees in this, Ready or Not, so there's another one now. Then another thing I was thinking about as far as, or we were thinking about as far as the movie was, there is like a 30-minute artist talk and right in the middle of it, which was like Manny Sidonia's artist talk from PNCA, which is like super amazing. And I knew like right away not to like edit any of it. It was also like how to say what to edit and like what to take out, and like all of it was good and amazing. And even like, you know, just like the sounds of the microphone, like cool. So yeah, I thought about that, and we thought about like how it still is this breakup, because in the first little bit, it is images and just music, and then it goes to the like half an hour for an artist talk, and then it goes back to images and video. But I still think it's cool and it works. Something else I thought about in making this video was how our pictures are made of just as many people, if not as many like the art pictures. And I thought that was something that I think we definitely think about is the community we've been a part of, and also like been able to like help foster as far as like every artist we met. I feel like we become friends with afterwards, and they're like another person that I feel like we know and become cool with, and also the chances for some artists that we work with that may not know them beforehand, and then they get to work together, and I think that works out well too. We also use Rihanna, Run This Town, My President's Black Jay-Z remix, which was a moment I really wanted that in there. Then another little piece that was a break from the images and videos, a piece that was submitted by Kai Lewis, who's an undergraduate PhD, and we had sent out like this request for the videos. The only one we really got in time was Kai's piece, but so we put it in there. Cool to hear what she says and to know to have that kind of impact. There is another one that we got a little late, so we weren't able to put in the video, but I was going to show it now. And for those of you that know Victor Maldonado, I guess this makes sense.
Hey, Mad Max, what did it feel like to participate in the Nat Turner project?
Felt like if I would show my face.
So that's cool, and if you like know Victor, it's a cool thing. Yeah, so it's pretty sweet. Then, so that's pretty much what I was going to say about the video. I was going to talk a little bit about our last summer that just wrapped. It was a summer we spent with C3 in St. John's, which was like a lot of fun, really great growing experience. We had a Juneteenth barbecue, and that's a picture of Zed Kenzo, who's a rapper from Milwaukee. We were able to fly out, which was like an amazing experience and something we had never done before, to fly out a rapper. And C3 like gave them a place to stay, and we're also like able to pay them and pay for their flights and everything. Also, like working with C3, we're able to like pay all our artists, which is super sweet and something we're like super about. So not only were we able to like highlight our artists and like showcase them, we're able to like pay like everybody we worked with, which was badass. So we have a Juneteenth barbecue. Juneteenth is the celebration of the end of slavery. The proclamation was 1863, but when slavery ended, like in Texas and in the South, it was like 1865. And on June 19th is where Juneteenth comes from, so it's like actual ending of slavery. There was a barbecue. We had a really good vegan barbecue from a homegrown smoker. And we had like an amazing regular barbecue from Dove's St. John's. We had hamburgers, we had hot dogs, we had pulled pork, we had ribs, we had coleslaw, we had baked beans. So it was really good, and it was a lot of fun. We had poetry, Olivia, read some poetry, Avery Gilbert, Autos 33, did some music. And then C3 also had a June show of Jaleesa Johnson and Cheryl Burrows, which was sweet. And a July show of Renee Lopez and Ricardo Nagota, which was cool too, because there's also photography, and it's like our first time to curate a photography show, which was like a nice surprise, and it was cool. And that was a great summer with C3. I feel like we learned and grew a lot. I'm going to speak a little bit about some upcoming things. So I think after this settles down, the next thing on our list is we're going to start trying to plan a fundraiser. We're going to try to create a catalog. So we're going to fundraise for a catalog that will hopefully like be of all the art and exhibitions we've done up until now. And that's something we've been wanting to do for a while. So be on the lookout for that. And we have we're also hoping to get money for 2018 projects. Some other things we have kind of like figured out. We're going to be at Paragon later. in 2018, which would be sweet, with Manny and Jamondria, Black Apple Trove, and Kiki Nicole. That show's gonna be really good. Yeah, hell yeah. So those are some things NTP has in the pipe. Staying busy, keep hustling. Which brings thing to talk about. Working with Melanie. So NTP, of course, is a collaboration, and it's so much like teamwork. And I feel like Melanie and I really complement each other. And she's like, has like all the strengths, and I feel like we balance out, and it's really good and easy to work with her. And so I feel like that makes our collaboration go smoothly. I feel like we don't really disagree. We usually have like the same ideas, and I feel like we equally have the same amount of clever titles and quips and stuff. So that's good. I feel like that really is NTP is about all those things. Working with Melanie, and just want to say thanks to Homeschool. Honored to be asked here to be here. Y'all do really cool shit, and it feels good to be a part of it. Stephanie Schneider, Cooley, thanks for everything. We felt really supported and engaged. The library, the Truth Library, will become a part of Group's library after it's over, so that's really cool. And just being a part of the Sweet Show itself, we're really in really great company, and just being able to talk to all you fine people. That's it.
So I think Max and Melanie will take questions. We're gonna sit in the dark. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Do you want to sit in the dark?
I do.
All right, it's up to Manny.
Awesome.
Time for questions?
It is.
Okay. If you don't mind talking about it, or if you're willing to talk about it, I mean, it was such an incredible pleasure working with both of you. And so you intimated that you've had some sticky experiences. And that struck me as a curator and as knowing how wonderful it is working with you. And I'm just curious, I'd love to know, like, what the nature of that was, if you don't mind sharing it, and if it was a reflection of the content of the work, or like what happened?
In one particular instance, we were co-curating with another institution, and from the beginning, it became a question of ownership of the show. I don't think that the curator in question viewed it so much as a collaboration as sort of there's kind of co-opting the Nat Turner Project show, which was kind of a red flag in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then later on, they were extremely disrespectful to one of our artists, and actually made them cry because of a miscommunication and when the art was supposed to be at the venue. We basically had to sit this curator down and explain to them what they were. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Why what they were doing was essentially white violence. And of course, as is for the script for these things, there were tears. And ultimately, they just sort of apologized, but I got the impression that they still hadn't grasped what they had done wrong. We had to apologize to the artists because we felt like we failed, and sort of left them in this position where they were unable to, well, they were just taken unawares of by how they were treated. we ended up giving this artist a solo show just because we felt that they were slighted in a way that was unacceptable to us. Leave us feeling somewhat weary of the experience and of co-curating without laying out a very specific blueprint of what we expect in terms of treatment of our artists and the way the shows are handled.
And is that something that, that you do, like, in general, at the beginning of any project, and also in terms of, like, the politics of your work and what you expect in terms of maybe an institution's privilege or white privilege in terms of the curators or other people that you might be working with?
Yeah, I think as we go on with every experience, I think we're getting better and better about establishing like what our criteria is and what like our boundaries and like, what our goals are. And yeah, maybe not necessarily always in the beginning, but definitely like as we're going forward, we're looking more and more like that.
Yeah. Because it seems like kind of a double bind too, because it's also not your job, right, to educate everybody, or anybody. That's amazing.
Well, in an ideal world, maybe, but
Yeah.
I think with us taking on the mantle of creating safe spaces, we have to take that on too.
Yeah.
And that's just an unfortunate side effect that we're willing to deal with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, it was a question and also like a thank you, like bless you and thank you also for your talk. Talk about the absence from creating, from making, right? To give birth to their child and also to make creating their child as part of their process of making. I want to just like give thanks to you as somebody who is a mother, who is like a making worker. Another that felt erased, you know, that like that period of creativity that is in like birth, you know, regardless of what you feel your gender is or like your number. And I remember like hearing that song Kanye said that, and it was from multiple reasons why I was like, I could get you Kanye, I'm not here for you at all ever. But it was just so violent because it's like the idea of the tenderness in that song to Zion is glorious, right? It's tenderness towards the black body. It's never treated with that tender touch. It's tenderness towards both the birthing and making black body, and then like the premonition of like a new black soul coming into the world, right? And it's glorifying that. And it's such a beautiful song, and to come back with like I wish you were like in with Ryman, and I'm just like, what skill is lacked here in talking about this beautiful lotus like appears, right? It's funny that they think there's some kind of other music besides the sound of another lotus being born in my body. Like, what is this? Thank you for mentioning that, and also Miseducation of Lauren Hill as being like a seminal text. I'm like pretty old and I'll date myself by saying that like when that album came out, it was one of the first CDs I ever owned, and that like I was in 8th grade, and it was like what maybe you could justify in like the racism I experienced in like my creative algebra class. And I was just like, what is this voice? What is this voice? And the fact that Lauren Hill has been incarcerated for no reason, actually, for unjust reasons, like they've been through the prison system, and they come back out. And that Nicki Minaj, who is praised in like Bicycle and Bicycle, who's viewed differently in like the mainstream culture, like put herself on the ground, like in a like worship position. Like I remember seeing that, and like that's like very holy and very awesome because like Lauren Hill like speaks all of this truth. And so I would really like that that's embedded in the will of the Nat Turner Project, and I'm like proud to participate with you guys. And I don't know if that is a question, but also like some of it is, can you talk about access to privilege via like being a part of the academic, like I think of it as like there's a priestess, the priesthood, right? Like academia is the church, and then there's like the priesthood, And it's the methods and methodologies of like papacy basically. It's the academia, it's the academia is like papacy. You know, it's basically what it is. Bridging that, funneling the resources from the papacy into like the actual holy space. Like, can you talk about that and talk about how like Lauren Hill maybe resonates with that, and how yeah, this is that is actually. I'm sorry if that was like meandering. I don't know.
No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. No, yeah, I think all that stuff's super tight. I'm glad you appreciated it. Then yeah, I guess like if to think about like this as like institutions and like us being some kind of like piece or something, I guess then the idea is like yeah, it's not about these two roles, so it's not about fully the structures, it's more about like this can occur anywhere and it'd be like this idea like oh let's just go out into like the woods and like creep or like hold mass or whatever. And I think like yeah, maybe Nat Turner like that in some way, and maybe we held service like in that or whatever. And I think that's like what like one of our goals too is like this funneling of money or like constantly trying to like apply for things so we can still like be able to like pay the other people and keep it going and yeah. Like, that wasn't really enough, but I like that analogy for them.
Can I say one quick thing about Jamandria's comment, or in addition? So when Fred Moten was here this year, he was talking about the difference between the curator and the curate. And those words come from religious institutions. And the curator is the overseer in that structure, right? But the curate is the person who visits the sick, attends the funerals, and like takes care of the community. So Fred Moten was arguing that we need to change the whole construct of the concept of the curator into the curate. I think it's a good idea.
I mean, well, to address that, I feel like that's built into what we do. Our goal is to tend to the needs and the desires of the artist
Yeah.
to recognize their goals for what the exhibit is supposed to be. And that is placed at the highest priority, and everything else is just kind of like top down from there. So while we are utilizing the access of the academic institution, in particular access to their computers and software programs and vinyl cutters and press and contacts, we are doing that as a means to recognize the artist and to pass that on to the artist. And one thing that I appreciate with the later iterations of our shows is that we're branching outside of academia and we're starting to be more inclusive of the community, which I think is the ultimate goal for us.
Maybe we have time for one more question if anyone has one.
So I realize that some of the art was specifically designed to actually be installed in the bathroom. However, do you think that some of the art that might not necessarily have been created with the intention of going in the bathroom might be viewed differently because it is in the unexpected space of the bathroom? Do you think that people might have looked at the art and viewed it in a different light or got something else out of it because it was just in a different space?
Yeah, I definitely think that the bathroom affected the reading of the art.
And I see DA had a question.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, shout out to y'all for doing that undercomment shit. Because like when I think about Moten's work and I think about what y'all are doing as a curatorial practice, it reminds me of not just like the work in undercomments, but also poetics of the undercomments, where essentially like you're using institutional apparatuses that rely on the absence of Black thought and voice, and manipulating the resources that are made available to you. So shout out to y'all. So,
True.
True.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.